Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision. All right, guys, welcome back. Today is going to be a really fun day. We're going to talk to Richard Blank, and I've had a lovely time connecting with Richard before this call, so I think that we're going to have a great conversation. Richard Blank describes himself as a spiritual vision quest journey that came true, one that required moving beyond family guilt and societal pressure to live authentically and pay it forward. At 27, he left Philadelphia and moved abroad to Costa Rica, starting a company from scratch in what many would have considered a long shot that ultimately succeeded. He has served as Chief Executive Officer of Costa Rica's call center since 2008. Giving back is a core value for him. He annually endows a scholarship at Abington Senior High School for students planning to major in a world language at the university level. Staying true to a Generation X childhood dream, his passion for treasure hunting led him to build the largest collection of restored American pinball machines and antique jukeboxes in Costa Rica. So, welcome, Richard. It's so good to have you.
You, Carly, so happy to be with you today.
I think it's fun if you, which I'll put his website in the show notes, but if you look at his websites, he has a whole section where you get to see the game room at the office, and it does look really fun.
Yeah, recess was the best class. You got to start with dessert first.
Oh, totally. That's my husband's theory. You start with dessert first, and it's been working for him, so.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, so what you were saying before is that you actually were supposed to go into the family real estate business. What made you decide to head on over to Costa Rica and then start this business?
Building on momentum, Carly. My favorite class was Spanish. I became a Spanish major in college. I wasn't a real estate major. And even though something might be handed to you on a silver platter, it seems safe. But at the end of the day, that's not a true life. You really haven't tested the waters or tried. And
Yeah.
so I could have always clicked my heels and came home and had that office and all the contacts, but I wanted to gamble. I wanted to see what could happen. And so I took this language, got this opportunity to move to Costa Rica, worked at a friend center, and I kind of saw it as a graduate school. I learned the business from the inside out. And I was there for 4 years. And next thing you know, I threw my hat in the ring and started my own company. So looking back at it, it seems like it was destined and blueprinted, planned out, but I was kind of following my nose and where it was going to take me. When I used to get butterflies and good feelings, I realized I was in the right place.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So it's just, yeah, a big part of following your intuition. It's funny, we were just talking about that again on another recording on business owners and how important it is to actually follow your intuition so it can take you exactly where you're meant to be instead of where you think you should go.
It's just like, what's your price?
Yep.
Some people would sell out and sit in a cubicle for 40 years just to make sure they pay their mortgage, while others realize it could be a wasted life. And so
Yeah.
there was a certain point where I knew that I was marketable, where I could earn a living. It just depends on what level. But I wanted to, here's the thing. Could you imagine just being miserable every day?
I was in the past and I don't want to do it again.
And I just didn't want to do it either. And so you mentioned getting past certain guilts and pressures, and there's expectations. And so you might need to break free and be a rebel and go for it. But I backed it up with my Spanish just because my family couldn't do it. I go, I can do this, and stop
Yeah.
patting me on the head and telling me I'm cute. It's something where I could see a future in this. And so, eh, Carly, if you think outside the bubble, from
Mhm.
time to time, you see a different perspective. And people that love you might tell you to never get on a roller coaster. But then what happens?
Yeah.
You and I never get a chance to do the loop-de-loops and enjoy life.
And I think this is like the most important thing as well is like you were mentioning you had the vision, right? You had the
Oh yeah.
vision and your parents were like, no, this isn't going to work. And it's like, this is so cute. This is adorable. And we have unrealistic expectations for family members, friends to support the vision, even strangers, right? We have this unrealistic expectation because what we forget is it's not their vision. They can't see it. They genuinely can't see it. And so if your intuition is guiding you there and like the breadcrumbs are taking you down that path and you have that vision and it's coming into fruition slowly but surely, it's true and it's real, no matter what anyone says. So it's a really beautiful reminder to keep following it. And I'm curious too, was there something unique about Costa Rica? Because knowing the language, Spanish language, you could have gone to many places. What was it about Costa Rica that drew you there?
Great question. It's the proxemics to the United States. It's just a couple hours flight. It's on the mountain or central time zone, depending. And there's a large expat population here. It's a democratic society. The infrastructure is nice. So if I had to take a step outside the United States, this was a safer bet
Yeah.
compared to other places in Central and South America with unstable governments and surprises. So I
Mhm.
was just very lucky that friends of mine were here prior that got the lay of the land. And when I came down here as like a senior talking to a freshman, they just told me what to do. And I
That's
kind of
awesome.
just fit in. And so, but it's gorgeous here. It's tropical weather. It is
Yeah.
paradise, and you can kind of feel it. You can smell it. It's in the air. And
Yeah.
you know, you're on vacation in a sense. You don't really want to go home. And so I wanted to keep this Saturday going as long as I could.
That's amazing. I love that. If you've ever gone to Costa Rica, you'll know exactly what he's talking about. It really is quite beautiful there. And
Yeah,
something else you mentioned was that Costa Rica became your graduate school. So tell us a little bit more about that and what that looked like for you.
of course. A lot of it has to do, Carly, with maturity. You know, if you go to the Louvre and see the Mona Lisa at 10, you'll see it a lot differently than when you're 40. Uh,
Absolutely.
um, I guess maybe I didn't take things for granted. I just didn't understand how important they were growing up. And
Mhm.
so at the age of 27, which is very good age to be, and it's a transition age. You're still not too old, not too young. You're just right. You're in the sweet spot. And when I was given that opportunity, instead of just partying and blowing off this chance, I saw where I was at and that I could do this.
Mhm.
And that maybe if I just put my head down and I listened, not to what the supervisors and the owners were saying,
Mhm.
what the people were saying. So I'm
Yeah.
listening to hundreds of people a month tell me about how good and bad the job is and what they could do right or wrong. And so that's the best education yet. And so um, maybe I tried the hardest because I didn't want to move back to Philadelphia. I was in a brand new industry, which was telemarketing. I never did
Mhm.
that before. And so you take the original skills that you have with the spring in your step, and it's almost like a 80s B movie. You put someone like a fish out of water and see what they can do. And the next thing you know, a red tie is appropriate. And so my personality and my drive and my excitement to learn the industry
Mhm.
was the perfect combination for it to work.
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe it. It wasn't fading. And it wasn't something where I had to have that long conversation with my boss threatening me. Uh,
Yeah.
they kept, Carly, they kept giving me additional assignments. I used to move to different departments, and then they gave me the golden ticket, which was training.
Yeah.
So since English was their second language, I would onboard new agents in the art of speech and rhetoric and phonetics, which was beautiful for me. And so I kind of saw my calling there and realized that if I could take that skill and that knowledge, I could pay it forward. And to this date, I think I've trained over 10,000 people over 2 decades. And
Mhm.
uh, so it water seeks its own level. As I mentioned before, that nose got me to where I needed to be. And when I found it, I knew this was home.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's funny as you were describing that, I was like, I bet that they loved him there because you're engaged, you're wanting to learn, you're wanting to grow, expand, you're probably asking questions, getting the extra training. So it sounds like you got a great opportunity from a great company to really set you off to the next step, which is very cool. And
Yeah, but
you
what about
even
the kid that gets 100% on the test and makes everyone else look bad? So
you
my
know what? It
numbers were
is what it
here.
is.
People needed to catch up to me a little bit.
My theory is it is what it is. Those are the kids that I like to be around because I'm like, oh, I can do better.
Like a scratch golfer. Absolutely.
Yeah, I could do better. I could do better. So it's a nice form of comparison there. And even in this dynamic, you were talking about the art of the speech, right? So you are in communications and you're training people in communications. Tell me
Yes.
more about this dynamic, because the way you talk about it, it really is almost like an art form. It's something very important to you. Tell me more about the art of the speech, the thing that you've understood, what that looks like for you today, how that's incorporated in the call center.
It's like if you go into an
Mhm.
estate sale and you open a door and you see just 1,000 treasures, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah.
And for me, what I needed to do, because there was so much, was take the number one resource, which was the actual recording itself. Because
Hmm.
I could give you theories, but if you're not doing it on the phone, it doesn't help anybody. And so what we did was we listened to the calls, and through quality assurance and certain structuring on grading, I can pretty much give you the discipline for 80% of the call where it has its foundation. But
Hmm.
that 20%, Carly, that's the wiggle room. That's the spark. That's the magic. It's being spontaneous. It's anchoring. It's
Hmm.
that thing where you're in the now and you're
Yeah.
clever. And that's what makes comedians, speakers, and leaders incredible is because they capture the moment. And so what I tried to do once again was to pad it with 80% of what needs to be done. But
Hmm.
you need to talk about the dog barking. You got to talk about Carly, talk about athletics, talk about living. So you
Yeah.
can break down that fourth wall in Hollywood and get off your script and be a normal person for a minute. And if you
Awesome.
do that, you become very authentic like a painting. The
Yeah.
job doesn't feel tiring and you give such an experience to somebody that your conversion ratios must be higher because
Yeah.
they're engaged more. There's more of a human connection. And AI, as much as they can duplicate humans, they can never duplicate emotion and empathy as much as they say
Yeah.
they can. And
Yeah.
so I think we have that gift where if we use our phonetics, our tone of voice, the sound, and if we're very selective of the semantics of the word choice, using
Mhm.
thesaurus to find words that are more diplomatic and strategic, you can give the greatest delivery and presentation to give the best positive feedback
Mhm.
percentages. And you play that beautiful dance of non-offensive adjustments of tone, avoiding rabbit holes and complimenting. And if you do that, it's 2 minutes turns to 10. And the next thing you know,
Yeah.
you made a friend. And that's how you do these sort of things.
I love that. I love it. I feel like it's that dynamic of even on the receiving end of being on a call, right? Being on a call with someone I know is from a call center. And I can't tell you when I get on the call and they're reading from a script, I literally say, "Can we pause?" I know that you're trying to read off a script and I appreciate that you're trying, but I'm like, we're not getting anywhere and I don't want to be on the phone for another 30 minutes. And I ask them to actually transition. And if they can't transition, I say, "Can I talk to your supervisor?" Because I know that they don't have to talk on a script. And I don't think people realize how important it is to have that connection and that collaboration that you're discussing. Because I can't sit there for 30 minutes, an hour, and just I can't go through it. It's like torture. So I love what you're doing. I'm curious, how do you actually train that with your employees to ensure that they're able to deliver that as well?
So simple,
Mhm.
Carly. First and foremost, I'm going to blame the supervisor if that agent's just reading script because they're not a good mentor.
Yep.
What do I like to do? Let's use football as an analogy here. I'd rather have you make first downs for me, Carly, and then eventually a touchdown. But give me some first downs, give me some yardage. We're not
Mhm.
doing Deion Sanders or Devin Hester run backs, it's the kind of thing where I like checkpoints. Because if you and I need distance, it's better to focus on the rock that's over there 100 meters away compared to the
Mhm.
mountain that's 5 miles away. And so I've learned that it's not just survival, it's just to give little wins.
Mhm.
And so if you can, in the beginning of a phone call, anchor with somebody. How do you do that? I don't know. Maybe give a company name spike. Talk about built for this podcast. How you doing today? Say it better than Carly does. And if somebody transfers me to you, do a positive escalation. Let you know how great
Mhm.
Judy is, how important
Yeah.
she is. And I'll do it verbally and I'll do it in writing. Why do I do these things? Because it's showing excellent faith prior to any sort of presentation of my company. And if you can do that Forget the 10-minute calls. You're doing 150, 30-second amazing intros where you're jumping clouds.
Hmm.
The toughest part is that intro, kiddo. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you can walk across the dance floor and ask someone to dance, you might have the best night of your life. It's just
Yeah.
everyone's always afraid of that introduction. Well, why don't you show sincerity? Why aren't you excited to be on Carly's podcast to get you on the phone? Judy's the nicest person.
Hmm.
And I've seen that people that usually have a defense at a 10 will drop it to a 6 to a 4
Hmm.
because once again you're showing non-threatening behavior. And
Yeah.
so this poor young man or woman reading a script, they are so under the pressure to produce, they're going to get fired. And so
Yeah.
they figure that if they do the maximum of minimum Carly and get at least 12 scripts read, they might not get fired for the day. That's not good odds. Those are terrible odds. I call that carpet bombing. You don't want to carpet bomb. You want to be selective like a sniper. And that's all, because if you put that sort of pressure on somebody, they're not
Hmm.
authentic anymore. They got that weight on them. A supervisor named Billy yelling at you. That's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so
definitely.
you got to let them be free to wiggle and to
Mhm.
enjoy that call. If not, they're going to quit, they're going to burn out, and they'll get Carly very upset when they're reading the script. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And so the communication, the connection, like this piece of having this human to human dynamic is so important to you, right? So how do you balance that out with we have systematizing things present day? Like systems can really help us. They can help us on the back end, on the front end, they can help our clients. But how do you manage having systems in place while ensuring you still keep this quality connection?
No, it's somewhat difficult. The more that you remember when calculators were used, people stopped learning
Yes.
how to do long division.
Yes.
And you got these dictionaries or whatever you want online. So everything's at their fingertips. There's nothing I can do against that. That
Mhm.
horse is way out of that barn and it ain't coming back. And a lot of our entry level positions are being replaced with nonverbal omni-channel support like text, emails,
Mhm.
and chat. And so you've received that.
Yeah.
Some companies will only communicate via chat. They don't have a phone number.
Very
So
frequent now. Very frequent.
does doesn't mean they're not proficient, but you and I like to press zero and actually speak with someone, especially if we're paying $100 a
Yeah.
month for something. And so, um, but I see it and I get it. And so what I'm trying to think to somebody is maybe three things that they should always be focusing on an upsell. They should always be looking for a referral.
Hmm.
And if something is not going in our favor, they should be looking for that exit interview.
Hmm.
Because sometimes learning, Carly, what you and I missed could make us more money in the future if we don't do it again. And so,
Yeah.
um, if anything of nothing on the calls, even though 70% the water is being carried for us, it doesn't mean that we still can't do our job and just double and triple that section.
Yeah. And I'm curious too, like on the back end, how does that look structure wise? Like when you guys, like, how do you look at sort of the fallouts on calls? How do you look at like the celebrations of calls? How do you track it, monitor it, talk about it with the employees?
Wonderful. With a disposition report,
Hmm.
a lot of the times people will be on a predictive dialer, which means that a system will dial between 2 and 6 lines for you, depending on what a drop call ratio is. It's almost like a batting cage. It's just automatic pitches to you. And as long as you're in ready status, it's amazing this sort of production that can be done. And so at the end of a call, they have drop downs and they disposition it. I like sub dispositions. For an example, Carly, someone says they're not interested. Okay, well, why isn't Joey interested? And so sometimes you need to add, they have no money, they don't own the house, they're just renting, mortgage too high. I don't know, there's 1,000 answers to things. And so I think that you can sometimes make a report better if you add more additional information. Sometimes there's a wrap up where people
Hmm.
put in specific notes on an assistant of yours, when to call back situations, and that will assist you greatly if you have a callback with somebody or you need to pass the lead.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum.
And also, you look at talk time because if someone's getting hung up on constantly, either the list is terrible or this person's not focused. And then if someone's on the phone for 35 minutes, you're like, come on, man, what are you doing on this call? And so you kind of realize where this, once again, the sweet spot is where most people will ask the right amount of rebuttals and you tie it up perfectly. You rake the call so all the questions have been answered and that's where you go. So you can spot check these things quickly. You
That's
can
cool.
see what people are doing. And it's almost like 1984. You're really George Orwell this thing where people are completely 100% monitored from almost down to the keystroke and to
Mhm.
what they put in and what their screens are looking at. And, as much as you think working from home is a luxury, and there are certain areas of it that are great, but on the flip side, it only made companies uh, watch them that much closer in
Yeah.
regards to what their performance is. And that's kind of difficult. So um, it's not for the faint of heart. And I always believe in fear that if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. We're not stealing. I love cops.
Yeah.
Not cheating. Teacher's cool with me. And listen, Carly, if you're ripping phone and doing great, I'm your best friend.
Yeah.
I'm on your side. It's those that try to double dip, and I've
Mhm.
seen that a lot in this industry where they'll do what needs to be done to keep their job, but you're wondering how come they're not crushing it. And then you look to see, and they might have another job on the side.
Yeah.
And that's been increasing a lot with work from home people. They're double and triple dipping.
Okay.
And that only reduces the sort of efficiency of that agent or that consistent performance that they used to do on the phone. And so, what interesting times. You might be connected through technology, but we've completely lost the sort of synergy that call centers have when people work together every day.
Yeah, and so this is fascinating. Thank you for sharing your metrics. It was interesting to hear like the very specific things you guys are measuring. I'm curious to be able to keep on top because you've during multiple things. How often do you guys go over your metrics? And do you do it with the whole team? Do you just focus on the leadership team?
Oh, that's a good one. You praise in public and you critique in private. And so
Totally.
if Carly's got a Hall of Fame call, naturally we're playing in front of the team. And if you got stomped on, then we're going to definitely have that one-on-one and we're going to go through the call and see what happened when you dropped your left. It's what happens. But it's very nice to share someone's success on the phone because I believe in me today,
Mhm.
you tomorrow. So everyone has had their moment. And once we listen to your call, Carly, I'll go around the room and go, everybody, what do you think? Besides, they're like, Carly's great. I go, I know Carly's great. Now give me something else, and they'll give you a good answer. They go, yeah, I liked her transitional sentence. I love when she used the military alphabet. The fact she gave Judy a positive escalation was great. She asked tie down questions. If things made sense, sound good. I go,
Mhm.
awesome. So they get it.
Yeah.
And we're proud of you for things like that. And what I've seen, Carly, is that when sometimes people have breakthroughs, forget what they do at work. These are the sort of soft skills that people can use outside of the office to save a marriage, keep a best friend, and just have a
Yeah.
really fulfilled life. Because as I say, these are transferable skills and they're soft skills. And you've been talking for 8 hours today. You should be great at this. And so go to Quiznos, get extra pickles. Birds are going to give you an upgrade at the airport. You sound great. And so you're polished, you're prepared.
Yeah.
And so that's where I see us passing along that flame of the candle and just giving people light and clarity. And it's a beautiful skill for someone to have.
It's really fun. It's really true. My husband and I were laughing at this the other day because he was asking me, he's like, why did you handle it that way? I'm surprised you did that. And I was like, oh, because I was specifically trying to get this out of the person. And he goes,
That's right.
oh, and I was like, and I got it. And I was like, yeah. So it's interesting because it's like those communication skills. You're right. It doesn't just apply at work, it applies to all areas of our lives. That's really fun.
But
I'm
you have
curious.
to be careful though,
Yeah.
because it is manipulation.
Yeah. As long as like you're cautious with it, but only got what I want for business, and it was a good deal for both of us.
All right, just be careful with that fire. It could be used for warmth, or you can burn someone. So don't start
Yeah.
pulling M&M 8 miles on people, you know?
No, not at all. It's just funny. My one of my clients and I, we have a lot of conversations about this because I also do a lot of human behavior work, and so we'll go through,
Yeah.
and if we have a challenge with something, we'll go see how it served us, right? And it was interesting because we got to work on manipulation, and we got to see, and he got to realize that he only got manipulated when there was something that he really wanted to get out of it, and it was like, and what about other times where you couldn't get manipulated? And he's like, there was nothing I wanted in it. And it was wild because it's like manipulation is a clever conversation that's giving you something you want. If it goes awry later, we get really
And
pissed, but we forget that there was a nugget of something that we wanted in there. And so we let someone convince us. And we really truly forget how powerful we are as human beings. So whenever we're talking to anyone, it's like, if they got you and convinced you, it's because there's just a nugget in there. Could have been something small or big that you really, really, really connected with, which is wild, which is part of their job is to try to connect with something that's important to you. So yeah, I love sales. I love being sold. It's an inspiring thing. For it actually is. It's inspiring. If you sell me, I'm hard to sell, but when you sell me, I love it. I genuinely love it.
I first start off, if I may
Yeah.
clarify, is I try to manipulate for time.
Yes,
Because if I only get 30 seconds, how do you perform? But so
it's not
I try
enough.
to we try to buy time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is listening and agreeing with you and stopping the horizontal and going into the vertical and asking you 3 or 4 questions about what you just mentioned. And so, as I say before, we try to slow time down and buy the time. That's
Yeah.
my manipulation.
It's beautiful. Probably perfect.
Poetic, right? Yeah, right.
Poetic. And let me ask you too, because when you're doing these reviews, you mentioned sometimes the people who are getting hung up on the most, it's like, well, what's going on, right? What's your
Oh, yeah.
communication look like? What's the conversation? So when you look at someone who is really struggling with getting the art of speech within this dynamic, they're really struggling at the call center. How do you work that? Because in this industry, is it better to coach up or is it better to actually replace them? I know all industries are different.
I call the balls and the strikes. First and foremost, if I have a track record with you and I saw what you could do in the past, that's different. If you're a brand new kid that's got the vigor and the grit, that's great. But after a period of time, something's either happening outside of the office that is affecting your performance, or that right bus, right seat. Maybe you're
Yeah.
not a left wingman and you should be a goalie. And
Yeah.
so that's sometimes what needs to happen where I like the kid, he passed the first test, he belongs with us, but where do we put him in the gang? And
Mhm.
I don't want to force a fit because then you'll quit or you'll be miserable. And I tell you what, there's a couple things I've seen. Let's just say hypothetically you're not in the right campaign. But Carly, you show up every day on time. You're taking notes, you're giving me the rebuttals, you're studying, you're doing what you have to do. But as I say before, your timing is off. It's just not right for you. What you have shown me, that good faith, I will definitely transfer you to another campaign because look what you did during chaos. Look at your character. Look how
Yeah.
you handled yourself. You didn't cry or you didn't quit. But then on the flip side, I'll take a kid that's 18 years old. That's his first job.
Mhm.
Oh, that's like, you mold them like a squire to a knight. Guess what? They have no bad habits.
Yes.
No bad habits. And I could teach him how to use a CRM and a phone system. But
Yeah.
imagine having that blank slate and just being able to paint. And so some of my most, it's incredible what I've seen when someone has their first job and they're trying, they're appreciative, and they're like a sponge and they're
Mhm.
not afraid. And the only thing they have to their disadvantage is they sound young. They got
Yeah.
like the Peter Brady squeaky voice. They don't
Yeah.
sound like a real man. And so that's a real old 70s reference. Um, but yeah, you try to say, well, listen, what I need for you to do is do a loud whisper now. Do a
Yeah.
loud whisper and take your speed from an 8 to about a 6. You're going to add some years. Now you're going to sound like you're 23, not an
That's
18,
awesome.
and so
That's
yeah,
cool.
there's little cool adjustments. And so they'll say, for my clarification instead of excuse me, and things like that. It's you power up their vocabulary to give
Mhm.
them the self-confidence to ask that additional question.
That's cool. I love the training that you have in this because it also sounds a lot of human behavior dynamics, not just for other, but also for self. And I think this is interesting too. I mean, I hear how much you love leadership. It's so obvious. And you love teaching. Like that's obvious, which is
It's
great.
fun.
Is it kind of goes on my next point where I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about the attrition rates. Because when you told me about the attrition rates that you guys have in this industry, I had no idea it was so high. And so, like, I'd love for you to share with the audience about this because I'd love for you to also share how you manage it because it's a really high attrition rate.
300%, Carly. 300%. I
Big.
have a couple different ways that I look at it. There's natural and forced attrition. Natural attrition is if you leave because your girlfriend works at Amazon, you have a better schedule, it's closer to your home, and things like that. There's opportunities.
Yeah.
Not the only call center in Costa Rica. Forced attrition is if you get stoned at lunch, you don't come to work and make your calls, I'm gonna have to get rid of you.
You're
As
out.
much as you're a cool kid, right?
You're
Not
not
that
cool
cool.
enough. Yeah.
No, you're not cool enough. Too cool for school. But
Um,
in the beginning, it was hard for me for multiple reasons. You put 2 weeks into somebody. Usually it happens on a 2 week basis. They get
mhm,
their pay and then they leave either the 15th or the 30th. Or they start missing work a couple days. You're like, man, they're on interviews. But the 1 to 2 weeks you put into them, you start bonding, breaking bread, you're smiling, the kid balances the bike and ride. You're like, yeah. Next thing you know, he leaves. You're like, the worst part is calling the client. Go, yo, Carly, Tommy just quit.
mhm,
They're like, what happened? I go, I don't know. Usually I got
yeah,
blamed. Of course, the buck stops with me, but then I'd say, Carly, you know perfectly well, I never made the kid cry. And I
yeah,
never gave him the walk of shame. I never defaced him on the floor. So don't start saying that Richard was the hard boss. And no, no, we spoke every day. You were in the meeting, so you know
yeah,
how I am. And so I have to explain that the kid's 24 years old. He lives at home, parties
yeah,
constantly, and his English is excellent. He went to private school. I mean, he can get hired anywhere. And that's what happens. And so the way I made peace with myself was not having a heavy heart, knowing that I'm not going to beg,
yeah,
but I definitely did what I could as a boss
yeah,
to bring them in, to encourage them. And if Carly, it was just those weeks that they were with me, if I
mhm,
had done something to increase your skills, as much as it hurt me with the client and I got to find someone to know, we're not going there. But if your time with me changed you
yeah,
in a positive way, then I still saw the positive in that. But I tell you what, about 10% of the people actually knocked on my door and said, yo, Carly, I just got to let you know, I got to leave. I got this opportunity, or I'm going to the States, or something came up. But thank you. It was wonderful working with you.
mhm,
And I think that's very professional. And I got that 1 out of 10 times. And I tell you what, the people that used to come see me were like the kids that I barely even knew. It's the ones that were with me for 5, 10, 15 years
mhm,
that couldn't come speak to me at the end after all of that time. And so I realized that you can't shake someone's hand or look them in the eye, then it's not me. That's
yeah,
you. And so but I'm cool with that. What's fair in love and war? And all these agents go to all the different centers. The one thing I just don't like is I don't want coming into
mhm,
my center somebody and then bringing 5 people out.
yeah.
That's not right.
That's tricky. Yeah, I can
But it
imagine that's
happens
tricky.
too. And
Hmm.
and so what do you do? There's no surprises with the client. I let them know that we should always be looking for people. And if you see the signs, we
Yeah.
prepare for it. But how do I deal with it? I don't know. I go hit the gym. I play some pinball. I wash my car, and I go, Miss, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What do you want me to cry? I already lost my hair. There's nothing else that could happen. But yeah, my friend, it's almost like one step forward, two steps back sometimes, especially with the sales campaigns.
Hmm.
If it's inbound support or non-voice support, they never leave. They'll be there forever. But it's the ones that have those advanced skills. They're always looking for and I don't blame them. So
The
let
next spot. Yeah.
put them down as a mercenary. They're
Hmm.
the greatest warrior, but they're not loyal to any flag. So you just got to see how it
Yeah.
is. That's the name of the game.
That's wild. Well, I guess it also, I'm sure, refines your training to such a degree. 'Cause I'm sure you've had to get faster and better at training people to replace them quickly.
Depends.
Um,
I try to, that's an excellent question. Depending on the complexity of the
yep.
campaign, most of the campaigns take a couple days, nothing too much. They just want the people to get, loosey goosey. But
Yeah.
you brought up a very good point. To enable for me to increase the ramp up time, we need training manuals, and a lot of the clients don't have them, which is
Mm.
fine. We can build one. And then if you give us specific recordings, even if we just role play it and you give it to the agent, that increases the ramp up time like you have no idea, especially those
Mm.
recordings. And so it's like Cliff Notes, Carly. You and I can cram for this thing quicker and do just as well if you're given certain resources. And so I don't like to stretch things out. Yes, if I can give you shortcuts, recordings, the
Mhm.
rebuttals, the top 10, yeah, I can get you on the phone a lot faster.
Okay, amazing. And I'm curious because even when you say like these guys are the more educated ones, right? So when you're hiring someone for sales versus just inbound and outbound calls, are you looking for those specific skills, or is it still I'm willing to train you if I see it inside you dynamic?
Everything and anything.
All of
I'm
it.
down for
All
anything.
of
Oh
the
yeah,
above. Yeah.
all the above. But how do I break it down a little bit? Okay. I mean, you're asking such good questions, Carly. Um, because you could be well rehearsed. And what I see on paper is every bell and every whistle that I've wanted to see. So I need to ask you a zig and a zag question. I'm going to go, Carly, why don't you give me a coming of age moment?
Mhm.
And if the kid can give me some sort of depth, if you can give me, if off the cuff, can you tell me a story where he beat the crap out of someone in third grade because he was picking on his little sister and became the hero of the grade, recess? That's a great story. I'm going to
Good
start calling
story.
you a champ. Or someone saves a kitten or something out of a river. I mean, if you can think of a story like that where you can once again relate to somebody, then I have a better chance with you. Because if
Mhm.
you give me some sort of story that you think I want to hear, some work related story about something, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You boring, man, boring. And uncomfortable chairs, make me feel horrible. And so, I said it before that water seeks its own level. You and I need to jive.
Yeah.
We need to be able to play Pac-Man together, laugh together. I need to make nicknames and we got to have some fun. And so, um, but what skills some individuals have, and it's from either their private school living in the United
Mhm.
States, their father's an attorney, and just he listens to conversations, or
Mhm.
they've jumped and been at so many centers and done everything from sports books to real estate to casinos to you name it. There's so many different things here, ethically and
Mhm.
non-ethically. And so they come in too fast. And you know what the issue is, Carly, that they will taint the labor pool. There will be
Mhm.
a cancer because they'll
Mhm.
come in, they'll shake things up, and then they'll split. And all of a sudden, what just happened here? And as I mentioned, there's some people, it's almost like football or wrestling. You need to put on some weight to get to that different heavyweight
Mhm.
class or to start the team. There are just some people that are just an inch away from getting to that sales position or that confidence to go there. And so you're marinating and you're
Mhm.
really you're cultivating these skills, which is, as
Mhm.
you say, exceptionally mental. And so when and you know something else, and yeah, I'll say it. a lot of these top salespeople might have substance
Mhm.
issues.
Hmm.
They
That's
live
interesting.
so
Yeah.
fast. And you sometimes, not me, but some people look the other way because if, the guy can come in, work his
Hmm.
8 hours, half awake, but still produce the top numbers, they don't care. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? I care. It's not worth the money. And I just want to make sure that, Carly, whatever you and I produce and whatever company we build, we need to
Hmm.
be proud of it. And you should never sell your soul for a dollar. And I've had these people come in before and they flex, they
Yeah.
challenge you. And you know where the challenge is, Carly, without,
Mhm.
spilling guts, I might as well tell you that this hard side of the business, they gain leverage with the client. Because let's say
That's
you got 20
tricky.
people on a campaign, and this
Yeah.
one guy here, Joey, he's all over the place. He misses 2 days a week. Mondays and Fridays. Of course he does. But the days that he comes in, he does 4 times the numbers. And so the client's like, well, what do we do? Well, this is what we need to do. We need to follow the Costa Rican labor laws because if he's missing work and he's not
Mhm.
bringing in a doctor's note, he's not justifying it, I'm going to have to let him go. And secondly, I don't want the other people to start missing work. And I mean,
Yeah.
what's going on here? And
Yeah.
so you need to find that happy medium with people. And so yeah, my friend, there's some sort of different levels of filtration
Yeah.
prior to somebody coming into the company and starting to work with us because they can be either an asset, right, or a liability. It's just depending on what you're looking for.
I think that's a great example as well, though, is just letting go of that top producer. Because even if they're producing 4 times as much, it's like, well, if your individuals who aren't doing that start to miss Monday and Friday because he's creating that culture, it's like that ruins everything for you. Like it ruins so much. So it's better to get rid of a top producer who doesn't fit into the culture than actually hold on to them. That is now a liability. I think that was an excellent example.
It's like a
Yeah.
feral cat. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't control that.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? But I tell you, Carly, if there was just a 1 day hire, you'd want these people on your team
That's
for the
the
call
one.
center Olympics. Oh yeah, that's the guy. Oh, that's the
That's
rocket. Oh yeah. Mm.
awesome. Oh, that's so fun. Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. And I know that you're particular with your clients as well. So you often refuse individuals if they're not a fit. Like, how did you come up with the perfect kind of ideal client for you? What makes that an A player client in a sense, just like we're looking for these A player employees? How did you find those A player clients? What does that look like for you?
Well, somebody that can set me up for success.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't mind writing a script and the rebuttals with you, but if your call list is only 300 numbers, that's not going to last a full month.
Yeah.
And if your website's not up yet, if we transfer to your office for hot lead transfers and no one's there to pick up,
Yeah.
or you're not following through on the leads, that's not good. And so I don't like surprises. I mean, just be forthright with me if you are ahead or behind of where we need to be. And stop telling me about someone in your office named Jasmine that can do 15 an hour. I mean, come on. The average talk time is
Yeah.
7 minutes. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. And so I get your point, but a lot of campaigns I do refuse are people that are doing things that are gray area, or they
Mhm.
want me to abuse the do not call list, or they're just looking to, pass the blame if something goes wrong and just say it was us. And, that's why I'm saying I'm selective of what comes in here. And it's not even for me. It's
Yeah.
a buyer's market because the agents can choose which call center they want to work at. And so I could offer them something, but if no one chooses it, you and I don't have any agents. And so
Yeah.
it's almost like an acting job. It needs to be somewhat juicy. And the juicy part of it is, can they fulfill the needs? Well,
Yeah.
are they able to do the job? Because it might sound great, but after a week, if no calls come in or you have no appointments, your mind starts going. And then the next thing you know, either you quit or you think you're going to get fired or the campaign just ends. And so, um, I usually ask certain questions. Have you done this before? If you have, has it been at least 3 months worth of calls? We
Mhm.
spoke about dispositions. Do you have any recordings to send to me? Can I speak to someone that's worked there?
That's so cool.
What are you expecting in regards to call contact and conversions?
Mhm.
Email, voicemail templates. And I can tell, and there's a certain point where I say, listen, Carly, just be straight with me. Is this a pilot project? And they'll go, yes. I go, okay, great. So let's talk a different way of
Yeah.
building it compared to taking and plugging and playing it. And so,
Yeah.
um, and that's cool. And I also have to be exceptionally careful of corporate. Why? Because my 10 agents could potentially be taking away 10 agents in Chicago. And
Right.
so the floor manager, the supervisor, my contact over there might not be happy about that.
Right.
Or his personality or her personality could be very different to a Costa Ricans where they like to curse. They like to write in bold cap or in red. They like to be mean.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very careful about that sort of mixing. And so when I get someone in a meeting that's overzealous or starts questioning my way of working with people, which is fine. But as I say before, and I'm not doing it um, to pat myself on the back, but
Mhm.
there's a huge difference between being an owner of a company, especially a call center, to, let's just say, a mid-level manager
Yeah.
or supervisor. And I'm not taking anything away, but there's more finances, contracts, hiring that then we give to you. So you can
Yeah.
work with it. So, I mean, come on, I gave you the sand, the pails, and the shovel. Give me a break. You got the sandbox, but who paid for it? Who gave it to you? And so you got to think of who set it up for you. There's a different level to that too, my friend. And so some
Yeah.
people need to slow down and calm down and realize we don't get here by luck and by chance. And so have I butted heads with people before? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But I've always done it in a certain way, not to throw you under the bus, but I will have information like a disposition report.
Mhm.
I'll have a recording and I'll have the email and I'll bring it to you. And I go, this was sent to you on the 26th.
Yeah.
Today is the 5th.
Yep.
What happened?
Yep.
And so that's where I'll sometimes bring things to people's attention.
Yep.
But then again, Carly, I like preventative measures. So let's just say we're having meetings. What I'll do is have meeting minutes because I've already sent you the email saying, yo, I'm sure I'm going to get it by the 26th. So at least I'm not just saying it, it's backed up by an email. I got it covered. And so as I mentioned, checkpoints. I'll try to protect you and make you look good by
Yeah.
reminding you what we spoke about. And so, because things move fast and people forget,
Yep.
and so that's okay for me to be that individual. And so to answer your question there, I got to be able to have that sort of flexibility and knowledge of reports and what's happening for me to make an argument or a change if needed. Because if you don't give me recordings or reports, how am I going to know? And so
Right.
that's the sort of thing.
Right. No, that's very cool. I think something that you touch base on, people don't talk about a lot as well, which is sometimes you're tough with your clients, but it's funny because the ones that I love working with the most are the ones that not only can handle it, but realize like you're not doing it because you're trying to be a dick. Like you're just doing it because like you see the problem, you understand there's an issue, you're not going to get what you want. And we keep talking about this, so it's like I'm gonna push you really hard now and let's see how it goes. And
You're
yeah, it's
you're cashing
amazing.
in those chips. You're
Yeah,
cashing in those chips. I
paid
must
me for nothing.
Yeah, but look at it like this. If there's 10 things that we did perfectly, and then the 11th time you got mustard on your face, I'm like, yo, Carl,
Yeah,
I got some mustard on your face. At least you're
yeah,
gonna trust my opinion. And so,
yeah.
as I say, I don't do it off the bat. I'm not guns a
Mhm.
blazing, but
Yeah.
I'd like to show some very good faith in the beginning, especially on a first call, before then I start bringing back and asking certain questions for my own clarification. And so I'm just, I
Yeah.
guess it's just establishing credibility and not saying that I'm the man, but if you've listened to 10,000 phone calls, whoosh, you see patterns. And so
Yeah.
if I've invested 2 decades of my time training telemarketers, listening to phone calls and breaking it down, I'm not saying I'm the number one resource in the world, but I can stand by a lot of the things I've read, listened to, and seen. And so I just like to share that I have my war scars
Yeah.
and my experience. And as they say, it's the wheelhouse. Am
Yeah.
I proud of it? No, I wish I was a rock star. Who wants to be a telemarketer? But if this were my career, then I'm proud of it. I'll stand behind it.
That's amazing. No, and it's funny because I think sometimes we don't think things are like cool and sexy and stuff, but what people think are boring businesses are some of my favorite businesses. I think they're amazing because it's how many people you get to serve, connect with, like how many companies you guys have gotten to impact and reach through talking to certain individuals like over and over and over again. All the employees, there's a massive attrition rate, but all these people are getting trained and they're moving up and they're moving out. And it's like
Mm.
all this dynamic and the impact it makes. And it's like, no, you may not be a rock star, but look what we do. And I think it's a beautiful reminder because, yeah, whenever someone tells me it's like it's a boring business, I was like, I bet it's exciting then. I'm like, I bet it's way cooler than you think it is.
Not really, but
Oh
I
my God,
kind of
it's
feel
so
myself.
cool.
I
Yeah.
feel myself as being like a flower in a desert. This was a
Yeah.
1 in a million shot that should have never happened.
Yeah.
The beautiful side for me is when an English second language employee gets different levels.
Yeah.
That's where I see the real juice of everything that we do here. But most people hate telemarketers. We've been disturbed by them. They have a bad rap. There's a do not call list. And so
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is to put some light on one aspect of the industry, which is
Yeah.
nice. And a lot of people, I tell you what, have worked at a call center before. And so
Yeah.
they can relate to this in one way or another. But I shouldn't have survived this. Most people burn out or leave the industry. The fact that I went from agent to owner, it, as I mentioned before, if
Mhm.
Costa Rica was not in the mix, I don't think I would have continued this if this were in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Philadelphia. No way. It was just
Yeah.
something where I figured that I might be able to earn a couple dollars and be able to stay here. And if I can figure something out, I have a good story to tell at some reunions. But little did I know. And that's why I sometimes believe in magic
Yeah.
and stars being aligned and not, and you can't judge it on money. I just chose an
Mhm.
industry that was lucrative, but I think if anything grows, it's phenomenal. It's once again, it's something that was internal that became external and then became
Mhm.
material and you could touch it.
Yeah.
So for me, what that did was instead of patting the ego, it made me even more humble to
Yeah.
what happened. Um, Man, like a full bag of Halloween candy. That's great. I couldn't believe it. And so I used to have to just keep pinching myself. And so, yes, Carly, to bring up your point, being a business owner, doing something that I found interesting and stimulating, making a living, working with
Yeah.
my wife here. Yes, my friend, you're 100% correct. It's a beautiful story. It's a gift,
Yeah.
but there's also a trade-off. That attrition rate, that investment, the call to the client. And so, oh goodness, the sour and the sweet, what it is.
Yes.
And, most people only want to concentrate on the one side, but it's that second side is what builds the most character in somebody and
Yeah.
sometimes gives you the best stories to tell.
100%. Yeah, it's funny because when we go on vacations, we don't come back and be like, I sat on the beach And I sat there and I did nothing. And it was just wonderful. And let me just tell you about falling asleep for 30 minutes. You're like, no, I went on vacation. My car stalled. We got stuck, but it was hysterical. Should have seen my husband. We met this crazy guy. And then all of a sudden it's like, and that made the trip. And so it's true. It's like we expect that not to happen in day-to-day life, and we don't appreciate it to the same degree as when we're traveling or something. But that's what business is. Business is the weird, screwy thing that happened on your vacation that you got to make the best of. And when you do, you're like, in retrospect, that was good. That was good. I'm glad that happened.
You just got to look in those eyes at the end of the day and realize whatever happened that day, you did the best you could and give yourself five and be proud of yourself and go, oh my God, I can't believe can't believe this is still happening. And so yeah, why not? You got 100 years on this planet and might as well dance in the rain and see where it takes you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, so just a little bit on a personal note too, because outside of business, I know that you got into making music, which is awesome and wild.
Oh
Just
yeah.
share a little bit about that, because I'd love for people to hear a little bit more of that personal side of you.
Hi, Carly has the most fun podcast. I love your questions. My
Awesome.
first friend that I met down here was a guy named Igni Faroki. Yeah, he worked at the call center of my friends. And so he started a rock band back in 78. And he's pretty big in Central America. And so a couple years ago, I asked him to write a song for the call center. For me moving to Costa Rica, falling in love and not wanting to go home. And so he wrote it Shine Like the Sun and created it. And my favorite band is In Excess. And I like to follow the living members and seeing what they're doing. So I listened to a podcast of Gary Beers, the bassist for In Excess, and he had mentioned that he has a company in Los Angeles that produces bass guitars. And so looked it up. One section said hire Gary. Started off as $600 because man, I would have just paid 600 for him just to write me. So um I sent him the song and I wrote him probably 5 paragraphs of how In Excess my favorite band is, music growing up and everything great. Guy wrote me back and he
Yeah.
goes, yeah, the song's cool. It reminds me of the band Rainbow. And he goes, yeah, I'd love to work on it. And I go, besides that $600 for you just to play it, what else do you offer? And he goes, listen, he goes, I can do some different funky versions. I go, oh yeah. He goes, I can add some synthesizer and some other sounds. I'm like, definitely. He goes, and for the grand finale, I can make a performance video for you. I go, absolutely. I got to have proof, right? Just can't have them playing it. And so I go, and I didn't, you know, it's the coolest thing in the world, Carly. I said, done. I
Yeah.
didn't even know what the price was. I go, I'm doing it right now. And, and the guy sent me a
So
price. And I
cool.
go, I would have already paid 5 times that, but that's not the point. And I
Mm.
knew it that I go, whatever he was going to tell me, I was going to pay it. I had to pay it. And so communicated with him a bunch. He created a track when he was, I think, in LA, and we could put it over the original track. And it sounds great. And so, man, Gary Beer is such a great bassist, and you can really hear the in excess in him. Yeah. And so we created a fun video, worked with him there, and that was one project. And the second project, I have two call center agents. G Black the Best, he's a rapper,
Yeah,
right? And then also Yik Lawson Rodriguez, who's a professional breakdancer. And so we created a breakdancing rap video at the call center.
that's
And
cool.
so it was so much fun. And so I love to contribute to the arts. I'm not going to give money to some museum for paintings. That's not fun.
Yeah,
I want to create this stuff. And so, yeah, any chance I got to mix in local artists, especially with my favorite band and other things, that was exceptionally special. So if your audience wants to check it out, once again, Shine Like the Sun from Igni Faroki with Gary Beers. And the second one is the Costa Rica's Call Center commercial, which you'll see the rapping and break dancing. And of course, I make a cameo in both of those videos. Yeah.
that's awesome. And you know what? I'll put those links in the show notes too. So I'll make sure to get those from you so they're in the show notes so people can find them easily, just in case you're listening and you didn't get to write it down. Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
buddy.
for
Appreciate
sharing
it.
that. I think that it's important for business owners to remember all the extra fun things in life and those little side projects that we enjoy that make no sense. And, we spend a lot of time on our business, a lot. And it's like those little things that we would love to do, to not forget to kind of pursue those things that light you up.
I started my business so I could do those things and buy
Totally
pinball
same.
machines. Listen, I'm still a kid and I just had to do this. I had to earn a living some way, but
Um,
it's crazy. Collecting those pinball machines and the air hockey table and stuff.
Yeah,
It was the arcades were going out of business here. And so
yeah.
you check on Facebook or Craigslist and you drive a couple hours and some guy's got a bodega and most of the stuff I didn't want, but there was always a choice pinball machine. There's some other beautiful machine you pick up and you get one, then you get five, and you get up to 11.
Yeah.
And then you have to realize which battles you want to win with your wife. So, um,
Yeah.
but I tell you what, my friend, I tell you what, there is nothing more beautiful than a restored electromechanical pinball machine from the 1970s. Those are my favorite
Oh,
things
that's
about.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. We have one from the 90s. We have a pinball machine we have a Jurassic Park. So, yeah, it's actually really fun. And we play it every now and then, and it's very fun. So, yeah, you forget how enjoyable pinball is. And it's a skill, by the way, because it's very difficult to do. And I watch my mom do it, and I'm like, you hit all the things when you're meant to hit the things.
It's the
Uh,
94 Data East, right? With the head that comes down and eats the ball.
yes, yes.
That's
Yeah,
right. If you check out in the beginning, before you start to play, it says 200 miles off the coast
yeah.
of Costa Rica. It gives you that little thing right before you play.
Oh yeah, it does. From the Isla Nublar, I
That's
think it
right.
was.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
We
yeah.
had we had the Terminator one too, and we got rid of it, which kind of makes me sad still. But did you ever try the Terminator one?
Which one? There's so many.
We had Terminator 2, and Arnold
Oh, okay.
Schwarzenegger talks on it, but you can take away a safety thing, and occasionally Arnold will say, "Fuck you, asshole." You're like,
That's good. I love the fact you guys own a pinball machine. There's nothing better than
uh,
owning a machine.
it's so fun. I'm gonna get the Galaga machine next because I'm obsessed with Galaga. I love Galaga, so I'm gonna get one of those machines next. Yeah.
I have a suggestion. You could do one or two. Yes, get the Galaga, or
Yes.
sometimes people get MAME, which is
Yeah.
multiple arcade, the game emulator, machine
Yeah.
emulator. And they'll have your Galaga, but they'll also have 5,000 other games from like 72 up to like 90.
Wow.
So you'll get
Yeah.
everything. And so a lot of people get these custom made beautiful cabinets. Like, yeah, make your
Yeah.
cabinet Galaga with the marquee and everything. But if my suggestion is to put those 5,000 games in there so you can really have all the
Yeah.
best.
Which is kind of crazy. I've seen those now. They have them at all like the Costco's and stuff. And it's I saw that. That's why I was like, I was about to get an old one, and then I saw the new ones, and I was like, I actually have to do more research because there's Pac-Man, there's Kong, like there's all the cool games, all the cool arcade games. So amazing. Yeah, so much fun. So
I love
thank you.
that stuff.
I know.
I don't know why, but those older games relax me.
They're I really love them as well. I have I really enjoy them. I like games as well, and I like figuring things out. I like trying to get to the next level, and I mean I think that's why we're entrepreneurs and we get a little obsessive about it. We just took our video game kind of stuff into real life world. We're like, what's the next level in life? Yeah.
Well, I did it because I had the room, thank God, at the center. And
Which is
secondly,
awesome.
I needed to find a way to hang out with the people because I'm the boss. I'm a loser. So I got to find a
Yeah.
way. And but I tell you, when you instead of having a cigarette or isolating yourself, if you do
Yeah.
play a game of asteroids or pinball or air hockey, I think it keeps you on a certain level. So when you go back upstairs, you're even sharper because you're working different sections of your body. It's just a thought,
Yeah.
but I
Your body
always
and your
knew,
brain.
and your brain, and you're
Yeah.
making friends. And so
And you're making
I felt,
friends.
I always felt that that was a benefit to somebody if they
Yeah.
chose a game in between on their breaks.
Yeah, that's cool. So thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate this. And for everyone, make sure you go on his website. You can check out Richard's actual business, and also you can see all the cool stuff with the pinball room. So he has all the pictures on there, which is fun to see too. But it sounds like it's been great. to listen and learn about just the variety of solid business strategies combined with a lot of human behavior principles in your company. So thank you so much for sharing that today.
Thank you, Carly. I had the best time.
Yeah, and for anyone who really enjoyed this, feel free to like and share with anyone else who you think would really enjoy it as well. And I look forward to seeing you next time.